in our history textbooks, we are taught how Britishers committed atrocities on the Indians, whereas in UK they're taught how Britishers actually benefited our country. But one can't say that in mythology, Sita married Lakshman and not Ram. So in that context, I think mythology will be more reliable than history. Don't you think that? I think the question is for you.
Yeah. I don't think that mythology is more reliable than history, and perhaps a historian will tell you why. I'm not a historian. Every discipline has to proceed according to some rules. How you arrive at a conclusion has to depend on some facts, not upon imagination. So maybe Roshan would be able to tell you about that aspect. The other thing you mentioned about destroying a monument, you see, you do not change the fact that that has happened. The fact is that a Babri Masjid was built, rightly or wrongly, 800 years ago upon a certain point. Now, 800 years later, what is the point of breaking it down? It doesn't make sense. It's what's happening to renaming every road, tearing down things which were there before, so that we have no memory of the past. It's just plain immature. We have to come to terms with the fact that at one point in history, there was a particular invasion, such and such happened. As a result of certain invasions, we have become a much richer culture at the end of it all. Our food habits, our music, our poetry, our dress, our manners have all been affected by Islam. I live in North India. I'm a North Indian born and brought up in the UP, partly Kashmiri, partly Maharashtrian by blood, and a Hindu by birth. But I consider myself half Muslim by culture. What else can I be? Living in a part of India which has some of the greatest monuments of Islam, a great language, Urdu, Kathakali, a great dance, and these things are there. And by destroying the Babri Masjid and dancing upon the destroyed dome does not really get you anywhere or solve any problem. It's maybe a pity that it was built on that particular spot, but only a historian can tell you whether there is absolute historical confirmation about the birth of Ram on that particular place.
Actually, as a historian, I think it's irrelevant who was born there, because we have to move into the future. Even though I'm a historian and I have to look at the past, the point is, certain aspects of the past need to be set aside so that we can develop, so that we can have electricity and we can have water and we can have a better standard of living. If you're constantly going back to the past, we are actually just distracting ourselves from the problems of the present. Now, for those youngsters here who are interested in history and studying history, please keep in mind that the USA did not exist before 1600. If you want to go back to the past, you have to throw out every single person except Native Americans from the USA. Do the same thing in Australia, do the same thing in New Zealand, do the same thing in Tasmania, and in the entire Caribbean islands, and in South America. So it's a very dangerous thing to keep going back to the past. We have to know the past and we have to move forwards. And to move forwards, there's a whole lot that our nation needs to do. And I think that is where we should focus. We don't really need to, like China, have a cultural revolution and destroy the past. I think that also does not ultimately serve a purpose. But we certainly need to move forwards. Because if you look at history as a whole and you keep trying to go back to the past, I think you have a depopulated world.
Okay, next question. I'm trying to be fair about this, so I'll go to the back and then come back to the front. There's a gentleman at the back there. We can give him a mic.
Hello. Are you influenced by Western ideologies like Sheldon Pollock or Randy Gardner and their theories like political philosophy, etc., to write your books?
No, not at all. If you read the books, you will see there's no Western influence.
Okay. Mic will reach you. If you hang on a mic will reach you, then we'll be able to hear you more clearly.